So this story is a bit different from the other two I've looked at. It's a pretty short story, and it's not as well known. So if you haven't read it yet, do yourself a favor, check the description. There'll be a link to the original story. Read it and then come back. The opening paragraphs serve to set up our two main characters, the narrator, who remains unnamed, and Ted. Ted serves as a one-dimensional character who plays the role of a partier. He's the cool guy out for adventure. The narrator is the quiet guy who stays in the back but sticks around to get his friend out of inevitable trouble. Finding themselves in an unfamiliar and fairly desolate country town due to a wedding, Ted leaves and goes in search of a place to gamble. This is the true spirit of someone addicted to gambling. He just can't quit. The bars that they stumble into are described as empty, and the last one Ted comes to, he finally gets his wish. One bitter old man finally spoke up at the end of the third empty bar we invaded. There's a casino, if you really need it that bad. We know something's up as the bartender's reaction was less than stellar. Ted is blind to this, as all he is driven by is a very real need to do something. To gamble. They eventually come to a stereotypical creepypasta setting, an old abandoned church. This is further outlined by the narrator's hesitance to embrace the setting. It makes the readers feel a bit uneasy, but that all changes when the door opens. The paragraph which describes the casino helps put us at ease. The light and noise swallowed me, and I blinked repeatedly until my eyes and ears adjusted. I was almost disappointed to find that the expansive place within was exactly the same as any of the casinos Ted had made us visit in Las Vegas last year. Vaguely old-timey red and gold carpets ran lush under warm lighting, and drunk businessmen and their accompanying younger dates played at scattered locations throughout. An old lady glared at me defending her slot machine and pulled the lever only after I moved past. Describing the casino as almost boring makes us wonder where the horror will come in and drives us to read more. The narrator shares with us an encounter he witnessed between the casino employees and a visitor. "That was everything I had," the Asian businessman said, dismayed. The two girls had been clinging to his arms, disengaged, and began to look disinterested. Hurriedly, he made a motion to a casino manager, and the well-dressed but subtly subservient facilitator brought him a small suitcase. It clicked open with a rush of air, and I watched as the unlucky gambler pulled out bundled stacks of blue dollar bills. The next paragraph describes how odd the blue dollars are, because they're also the focus of the title. We, the readers, know they're important, but we've not yet filled in the pieces. The narrator begins to question this, but the businessman, much like Ted, was just in search of a good time and began to gamble away. The narrator then spends the last of his money and is told that blue dollars represent debt and offered a case full of them. He refuses and then is sort of ignored by everyone there, much like the businessman would have been. We then see Ted go through the standard cycle of gambling, where he wins and rides this sort of high until he crashes and burns and loses everything. Ted then enacts his plan, attempting to run and stiff the casino with the debt from the blue dollars. The narrator escapes, but Ted is bound inside the church. With Ted stuck inside the church, the reader gets their first chill. The grinning man gave a small laugh. "I told you that my money was a form of debt. People like your friend here never listen. They think that they can cheat the house. Perhaps that would be possible if the house, in this case, were not a demon. But it is. I am, and he is now indebted." I stared up at him trembling, but it seemed that I was not in direct danger. The next question was obvious. What does he owe? "The same thing that is always owed," Malcolm told me, his grin widening, his cheeks in a starkly inhuman manner. "Each blue dollar represents a portion of his soul. If even one remained, there was a chance he might win it all back, and more. Thus, I would not technically own him. With not even one blue dollar left, he has no chance of escape. He is mine." Following this, we understand who Malcolm really is. He is a demon who manages to trap gamblers by capitalizing on their faults. The narrator then manages to save Ted by producing money that Ted had given him earlier on. This earns Ted several blue dollars, which equates to a portion of his soul. He would be free to leave, but he chooses to risk it all again. The story ends with the narrator accepting the fact that his friend was lost to the casino, and the illusion of the party fades. Opening and closing the rotted wood a few times, I discovered nothing but a musty and abandoned church within. I could also now see the cars parked outside were rusted and ancient, with models ranging from modern to classic. Those that had come here over the last 50 years had never left. The last paragraph of the story serves as a bit of reflection for the narrator. He ended it with the line, "We are each our own doom." The story really works here. It shines by showing flaws that are present in all of us. Very rarely will you find a story where the supernatural element fits so naturally in the environment. Here, the demon represents little more than the negative aspects of Ted. The story leaves us with the realization that if we are not careful, we could find ourselves in a situation like his. As a short horror story, it really works well. In contrast to the more lengthy stories I've reviewed before, this one is a single standalone part. It does not overstay its welcome, but still manages to scare us and teach us a lesson. While it may be fun to be like Ted, too much of any one good thing can become a bad thing, and that's exactly what the one-dimensional, party-loving character highlighted. The demon Malcolm was used to represent greed in a sense. This made the supernatural fit much better than usual. The careful attention to mimicking a gambler and his codependency created a wonderfully chilling short story.